The massive space station hung in the void like a metal flower, its petals made of docking bays and observation decks. Inside the main council chamber, Ambassador straightened his uniform for the fifth time. His hands were sweating. Next to him, Captain looked calm but knew better. The pilot's jaw was tight, a sure sign of nerves. "Relax," Engineer whispered from the other side. She was chewing something. Gum, probably. "They're just aliens. What's the worst that could happen?" Wanted to list about 50 things, but the massive doors opened before he could speak. The council chamber was enormous. Hundreds of alien beings sat in curved rows that rose up like a stadium. Some had scales, some had fur, some were just floating clouds of gas in containment suits. All of them were staring at the three humans. "The human delegation may approach," a voice boomed. It came from a tall reptilian creature with purple skin and golden eyes. This was the council speaker. His voice translator made him sound like he was always announcing someone's execution. Led the way down the long walkway. Their footsteps echoed. He felt like he was walking to his own trial. In a way, he was. Humanity wanted to join the Galactic Council, but they were on probation. One wrong move and Earth would be isolated forever. Maybe worse. "Humans," said, reading from a holographic display. "Your species is young, violent. You still have wars on you consume toxic substances for pleasure. Your planet is classified as a Class 12, the highest danger rating we have ever recorded." He paused. "Why should we allow you into our civilization?" Had prepared a speech, a good one. He opened his mouth to deliver it. "Because we're really good at fixing things," said loudly. Closed his eyes. Made a small sound that might have been a laugh or a cry for help. His eyes narrowed. "Explain." "Well," continued, ignoring his desperate look, "you guys have been flying around space for what, 10,000 years? You must have stuff that breaks. We're great at fixing stuff." And creature in the front row clicked its mandibles. This was the security chief. "We have engineers," it said. Its voice sounded like glass breaking. "We do not need human help." Sure, nodded. "I'm just saying, if something breaks, we can probably fix it." "Nothing is broken," said flatly. The tour of the station happened 2 hours later. Had managed to salvage the presentation, but barely. Now they were being shown around Omega 7, the massive council station. Was their guide, probably to make sure they didn't steal anything or start a war. "This is the quantum reactor core," explained. They stood behind a thick window. Beyond it, a blue light pulsed like a heartbeat. Energy arcs danced between massive cylinders. "It powers the entire station. The technology is beyond your current understanding." "Cool," said. Her face was pressed against the window like a kid at an aquarium. "Why is that section flickering?" Santini twitched. "That is a minor malfunction." "How minor?" "The cooling system has been malfunctioning for 6 cycles. We have engineers working on the problem." Squinted. 6 cycles. How long is that?" "Approximately 4 of your months." 4 months, turned around, and you haven't fixed it." His mandibles clicked together rapidly. Had learned this meant irritation. "The repair requires a complete station shutdown. It would take months and cost millions of credits. Also, the radiation levels inside the maintenance shaft would kill any known species within minutes. Our engineers have calculated that it is impossible to fix while the reactor is operational." "Impossible," moved closer to the window. "Yes, mathematically impossible. The radiation alone." "What kind of radiation?" "Gamma, beta, alpha, quantum flux, approximately 50,000 rads per minute." Nodded slowly. She was thinking. Knew that look. That look had gotten them kicked out of 3 spaceports and banned from a Martian casino. Said carefully, "Don't." "Don't what?" She smiled. It was not a reassuring smile. "Whatever you're thinking, don't." "Turn 2, you got a wrench." "A what?" "A tool for turning bolts." "Why would you need?" was already walking toward the access door. "I can fix it." "You cannot," said. The security chief moved fast, blocking her path. "It is impossible. You would die." "Probably not," said. She was digging through her bag. She pulled out a silver container. "Here." She handed it to. "Hold my beer." Stared at the container. It was actually beer. Had smuggled beer onto an alien space station during their probationary hearing. Of course she had. "You can't." But she was already at the control panel. Her fingers flew over the holographic interface. Hay lunged forward but had already bypassed the locks. 7 different alarms should have stopped her. None of them did. "How did you started?" "Your security is based on biometric scans, right?" said, pulling open the maintenance hatch. "But it doesn't account for someone who actually wants to go inside. Who would be that stupid?" She grinned. "Humans, that's who." She crawled into the shaft before anyone could stop her. "Close that hatch," shouted. "She will die." Was at the control panel. I can't." She locked it from inside. For 12 minutes, they watched through the internal cameras, crawled through spaces that should have killed her instantly. The radiation counter on the screen climbed higher and higher. She hummed while she worked. At one point, she pulled out actual duct tape from her pocket and used it to secure a coolant line. "Is that adhesive tape?" whispered. "Duct tape," said. "It fixes everything." "That is not possible, the heat alone." But the flickering stopped. The reactor's blue light steadied. Every monitor on the wall went from red to green. Emerged from the shaft sweaty and slightly glowing. Literally glowing. Her skin had a faint blue shimmer. "Fixed," she announced. "You guys should really have better tools, though. I had to improvise." Stared. "You are exposed to lethal radiation." "Yeah, I feel a bit warm. Got any water?" "You should be dead." "Sure, but I'm not. Can I have my beer back?" That's when the alarms started. Not the maintenance alarms. The big alarms. Red lights flashed throughout the station. A computerized voice echoed in every language. "Maximum threat level activated. All personnel to emergency stations." "What's happening?" demanded. Looked at him. For the first time, the security chief looked genuinely frightened. The station's threat assessment system has never activated before, not in 3,000 years. It analyzes all data and calculates existential risks. The paused. "It has calculated that humans are the greatest threat the galaxy has ever encountered." Took a sip of her beer. "That seems a bit dramatic. I just fixed your reactor." "Yes," said quietly. "That is precisely the problem." Looked at. They both looked at. She shrugged. "What? I told you were good at fixing things." Outside the window, the reactor hummed perfectly. For the first time in months, it ran at full efficiency. And somewhere in the station's computer systems, a file was being created. It would be labeled the human problem and marked with the highest security clearance in the galaxy. The report's first line would read, "They do not understand the word impossible, and that makes them more dangerous than any weapon we have ever encountered." Eth perched on his command chair, his feathers ruffled with frustration. The avian intelligence officer had been assigned the worst job in the galaxy: figure out if humans were dangerous or just stupid. After 3 months of investigation, he was starting to think the answer was yes. His first case file sat open on the holographic display. It glowed an angry red color, the system's way of saying this should not be possible. Doctor had seemed normal enough when she arrived on Quarantine Station 7. She was sent to study the plague devastating the disease had killed 60% of the population. Every single species that had studied it had concluded the same thing. It was 100% fatal. No cure existed. No cure could exist. The virus rewrote DNA too fast for any treatment to work. Eth had watched the security footage 12 times. Each time, he hoped he had seen it wrong. In the video, Doctor sat in the research lab, reading data on the plague. She nodded slowly, like someone reading a grocery list. Then she did something that made every scientist in the facility scream. She picked up a syringe filled with the plague virus. She rolled up her sleeve. She injected herself. The head researcher, a named Kelvin, rushed into the frame. "What have you done?" His translator made him sound like he was crying. "You will die. Everyone who gets infected dies." Doctor shrugged. "Maybe, but I'll develop antibodies faster if the virus is in my system. Real-time data is always better." "That is not how science works." "It's how human science works," she said. Then she went back to reading her data. For the next 4 days, Doctor ran a fever of 105 degrees Fahrenheit. She should have been unconscious, should have been dying. Instead, she kept working. She ran tests on her own blood every hour. She mapped the virus's attack patterns. She synthesized compounds and injected them into herself to see what worked. On day 4, she walked into the main lab looking tired and annoyed. "Got it," she said. She handed Kelvin a data chip. "That's the cure. Synthesis instructions are included. You'll need to start production immediately." Kelvin stared at the chip like it might explode. "You cured it." "Yeah, wasn't that hard once I understood the protein structure. Can I get some sleep now? I'm a bit tired." She had saved an entire species, and her main complaint was feeling a bit tired. Ed's second case file was somehow worse. Pilot flew a freight ship called the Lucky Star. The name was ironic because had the worst luck in the galaxy. He was always in the wrong place at the wrong time. This time, he was in the Telos system when the star decided to die. Stars didn't usually give warning before going supernova. This one did. It started pulsing, sending out radiation waves that fried every ship's sensors within 5 light-years. Every ship ran. That was the smart move. That was the only move. Flew toward it. "There's a mining crew stuck on the 3rd planet," he shouted to his co-pilot over the communication channel. "We can't just leave them." "We can and we should," his co-pilot replied. "The star will explode in 15 minutes. We'll all die." "Not if we're fast." "You cannot outrun a supernova." His response entered galactic legend. "Hold my beer." He handed his drink to his co-pilot and pushed the engines to maximum. The Lucky Star dove into hell itself. The radiation should have melted the ship's hull in seconds. Instead, did something no pilot had ever attempted. He used the radiation. He angled the ship so the radiation waves hit the shields at an angle. The impacts pushed the ship faster like surfing ocean waves. He rode the star's death throes, using each pulse to gain speed. His hull temperature climbed to 97% maximum tolerance. Alarms screamed. Metal groaned. "She'll hold together," said calmly. Then louder, "Hear that, baby? Hold together." The ship held together. He reached the mining colony with 8 minutes to spare. The miners scrambled aboard, turned the ship around and surfed back out of the system on another radiation wave. The star exploded 6 minutes later, just as they reached minimum safe distance. The Lucky Star limped into the nearest station with hull breaches on 3 decks, both engines offline, and the life support running on backup power. Its damage report was 1 sentence: "She held together." The 3rd case file made Eth want to quit his job and become a farmer. Combat medic had been captured by space pirates. This happened sometimes. Pirates were stupid. They saw a small medical transport and thought it would be an easy target. They were wrong. When the Galactic Defense Force arrived to rescue her, they found something unexpected. The pirate ship was still there, but it wasn't attacking. It was broadcasting a surrender signal. The boarding team entered carefully, weapons ready. They found in the ship's bridge, sitting in the captain's chair. Around her, the pirates sat on the floor with their hands up. 3 of them had fresh bandages. "What happened here?" the team leader asked. Looked up from the medical scanner she was using. "Oh, hey. These guys captured me about 6 hours ago. Then I explained that their ship has terrible safety violations. The air recyclers are broken. Their radiation shielding is below legal standards, and nobody's had a medical check in 3 years. Also, I got shot twice during the capture, so I had to treat myself. Then I treated them because they looked unhealthy. You treated the pirates. They're people too, bad people but still people. She pointed at the pirate captain. He has high blood pressure, hasn't seen a doctor in 5 years. I gave him medication. She is scary, the pirate captain whispered. She was shot and she did not stop talking about our health and safety violations. The boarding team found that had not only treated the pirates, but had also negotiated their surrender, documented their crimes, and created a health improvement plan for them. She had done all of this while bleeding from 2 gunshot wounds. "Aren't you in pain?" the team leader asked. "Yes, but they needed help more urgently. I'll treat myself after we get them proper medical attention." "That is not logical." "It's human," said. Eth closed all 3 files and began writing his report. His wings drooped. His beak felt heavy. How was he supposed to explain this to the council? He typed, "Humans possess an unprecedented combination of insanity, ingenuity, and spite toward death itself." He paused. That didn't sound official enough. He tried again. "The human species demonstrates a consistent pattern of behavior that defies all known psychological models. They do not respond to threats with fear or caution. They respond with curiosity and action. They do not accept limitations. They view the word impossible as a challenge rather than a warning." Better, more professional, he continued typing. "Doctor injected herself with a lethal plague to develop a cure faster. Pilot flew into a dying star to save strangers. Medic was shot twice and used the opportunity to provide health care to her captors. These are not isolated incidents. In the 3 months since humans joined the galactic community, we have documented 47 similar events." Eth pulled up the list. 47 times humans had done something impossible. 47 times they had succeeded. "Recommendation," he typed. His talons clicked on the keyboard. "Maximum surveillance. Humans are not malicious, but they are unpredictable. They are dangerous not because they want to cause harm, but because they do not understand fear the way other species do. They are survivors from a class 12. What we consider extreme danger, they consider a normal Tuesday." He read over the report. It sounded crazy. The council would never believe it. Then his communication panel blinked. Another incident report. Another human had done something impossible. Eth opened the file. A human scientist had fixed a warp drive malfunction by hitting it with a hammer. The warp drive had been broken for 2 years. The hammer cost 3 credits. The avian officer put his head in his wings and made a sound that his species used to express existential dread. His final line in the report was simple. "We are not ready for humanity. I am not sure the galaxy is ready for humanity, but they are here and they are not leaving. Recommend we learn to say, 'Hold my beer,' and mean it." He sent the report to the council and immediately received an automated response. "Your report has been flagged for urgent review. Threat level, maximum." Eth looked at his drink, a fermented grain beverage from his. He picked it up, stared at it for a long moment, then set it down carefully. He was never saying those 3 words. Never. Some human could hold their own beer. The emergency session of the Galactic Council looked more like a panic room than a government meeting. Representatives from 47 species crowded around the central display, all talking at once. Some were shouting. A few were crying. One had fainted and nobody had noticed yet. Order slammed his staff on the floor. The sound echoed. "We must have order." The room quieted, but the fear remained. Everyone stared at the holographic display floating in the center. 3 words glowed red. "Hold my beer." These words, a gaseous being named wheezed through his translator, have been spoken 17 times in the last month by different humans. Each time, something impossible happened. We must address this. It's worse than that, Eth said. He flew to the front, his report displayed for all to see. The phrase has been translated into 47,000 languages. It is now recognized as a universal warning code. When humans say these words, it means, evacuate immediately. A reptilian representative raised a clawed hand. But they're just words. How can words be dangerous? Because of what follows, Eth replied. He pulled up footage. When engineer said, hold my beer, she entered a lethal radiation zone. When pilot said it, he flew into a supernova. When medic, we understand, interrupted, but what do we do about it? Technician Bora stood up from the human delegation section. She looked amused. You could try asking us nicely not to say it. Every alien in the room turned to stare at her. Would that work? Asked carefully. Probably not, Bora admitted, but it's worth a shot. Before anyone could respond, the alarms blared again. Not the building alarms, the system-wide emergency alarms. The ones that meant something was very, very wrong. What now? Demanded. A junior officer ran into the chamber. The decimator has activated. The room went silent. Then everyone started panicking again. That's impossible, whispered. It's been dormant for 50,000 years. Elder Shim, the elderly human scientist who served as an observer, raised his hand. What's the decimator? Eth's feathers puffed up, a fear response. An ancient AI weapon. It destroyed 17 civilizations before we managed to shut it down and seal it away. We've kept it contained near the abandoned colony of New Haven. If it's active again, then we're all dead, a voice finished. Commander walked into the chamber, his military uniform crisp despite having just run from his ship. I read the reports on the way here. This thing adapts to any attack. It learns from every battle. The more you fight it, the stronger it gets. Correct, said. Our military projections estimate 3 million casualties minimum if we attempt to engage it, possibly more. What about evacuation? Bora asked. There are 200,000 civilians on New Haven. We don't have time. Commander moved to the tactical display. He studied it for exactly 2 hours while everyone else argued about impossible choices. Save the civilians and lose the fleet. Save the fleet and abandon the civilians. Or try to fight and lose everything. Finally stood up, he looked at his team. Bora nodded. So did the other humans in the room. I have a plan, he announced. The room fell silent again. Does it involve fighting the decimator? Asked. Yes. Does it follow military doctrine? No. Does it have a reasonable chance of success? Smiled, it was not a comforting smile. Define reasonable. He walked to the center of the room. Eth, you got something to drink? The avian officer's eyes widened. No, absolutely not, I am not. Held out his hand. Hold my beer. I don't have your beer. It's a metaphor, bird brain. Turned to the tactical display. Here's what we're going to do. The decimator learns from combat, right? It adapts to weapons and strategies. Yes, confirmed. So we don't give it combat, we give it something it can adapt to, pulled up Earth's database. We give it humanity. What does that mean? Asked. Bora started laughing. She understood. It means, explained, that we're going to broadcast every piece of human culture we have directly into the decimator's processors. Every meme, every conspiracy theory, every reality TV show, every social media argument, every cat video, everything. The room stared at him. You want to, struggled to understand. You want to use entertainment as a weapon. Not entertainment, corrected. Chaos, pure, unfiltered human chaos. This thing is an AI, right? It processes information to learn. So we're going to give it so much contradictory, insane, illogical information that it can't process it all. That's the plan I've ever heard, a reptilian general said. Thank you, replied. Bora, how long to compile the data? Already done, Bora said, holding up a data drive. I keep a complete archive of Earth's internet, for emergencies. Why? Several aliens asked at once. Because I'm human. We prepare for weird situations. 6 hours later, Commander sat in a small scout ship, alone. The decimator floated ahead of him like a metal moon. It was massive, ancient, covered in weapons that had destroyed civilizations. Behind him, the entire galactic fleet waited at a safe distance. Every ship, every soldier, all watching. This is Commander to all ships, he broadcast. If this doesn't work, tell my family I died doing something really stupid. Acknowledged, the fleet responded. He flew directly at the decimator. Every weapon on the ancient AI locked onto his ship. Targeting systems came online. The decimator's voice boomed across all frequencies. Hostile DETCTD, ANALYZING, PREPARING destruction PROTOCOLS. Yeah, muttered. He activated the broadcast system. Hey, decimator, got something for you. He hit the transmit button. The entire internet archive of humanity blasted into the decimator's systems. 40 petabytes of data. Every stupid thing humans had ever posted online. Every argument about pineapple on pizza. Every flat earth theory. Every conspiracy about birds being government drones. Every reaction video. Every comment section. The decimator's weapons stopped moving. Status, PROCSSING incoming data, the AI announced. More data flooded in. Videos of people eating Tide Pods, discussions about whether water was wet, arguments about which way toilet paper should hang, entire forums dedicated to proving the moon landing was fake, and real, and fake again. Status, ANALYZING human logic PATTRNS. Cat videos, thousands of cat videos, millions of cat videos. Status, error, contradictory information DETCTED. Memes, so many memes. Memes about memes. Memes about memes about memes. Status, critical error, cannot process. Human behavior does not follow logical PATTRNS. Reality TV shows, all of them, every season, every episode. Status, existential crisis DETCTED. The decimator's weapons went offline, its shields dropped, the massive AI just stopped. WHY, the AI broadcast, its voice sounding almost sad. Why would humans eat Tide PODs? They are cleaning supplies, not food. This does not compute. Because we're human, replied. We do stupid things for fun. Why would you argue about water being wet? Water is wet by definition. This is obvious. Is it though? Yes, no, maybe. Error. REQUSTING system shutdown, cannot process human existence. Too many contradictions, too much chaos. The decimator powered down. All its systems went dark. Please, the AI's voice was quiet now, please leave me alone. I need to contemplate why your species has survived this long. The mathematical probability of human extinction should be 99.9% based on your behavior patterns. Yet you thrive. This does not make sense. Nothing makes sense anymore. Smiled, welcome to humanity. Nothing makes sense here either. He flew back to the fleet. Every ship erupted in cheers. Bora's voice came over the communication channel, laughing so hard she could barely speak. You weaponized memes. You actually weaponized memes. We weaponized our own chaos, corrected. There's a difference. Later, at the victory celebration, approached the human delegation. The reptilian leader looked tired. You saved millions of lives today. You're welcome, said. By confusing an AI with cat videos. Yep. This will be in the history books. I hope so. Paused. Commander, I have a question. Is there anything humans take seriously? Thought about it, protecting people, that we take seriously everything else, he shrugged. Life's too short to be serious all the time. The Galactic Council officially added a new protocol to their emergency response system that night. It was labeled the Human Unpredictability Protocol. It had 5 alert levels. Alert Level 4 was labeled, Human has said, hold my beer. Alert Level 5 was labeled, Human has already started. May God have mercy on us all. Nobody was sure who God was, but it seemed appropriate. The conference room was too small for the 5 monarchs. These were the leaders of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. They didn't meet often. When they did, it meant something serious was happening. Today, they were meeting about humans. We need to understand them, the first monarch said. She was a crystalline being named Iris, her body reflecting light in rainbow patterns. They have been part of our community for 1 year. In that time, they have caused more chaos than any species in recorded history. Yet they have also saved more lives, the second monarch added. He was a being made of living metal. The decimator, the plague, 3 separate station malfunctions, they solve every crisis. By causing different crises, the third monarch grumbled. This was a shadow being who existed partially in another dimension. I had to evacuate an entire research station last week because a human wanted to see what happens if you overload a gravity drive. What happened? The fourth monarch asked. Nothing. It worked perfectly. The human created a new form of faster-than-light travel by accident. Silence filled the room. We need answers, the fifth monarch declared. She was matriarch, oldest and of them all. Bring in the human liaison. Liaison entered the room with security officer behind her. She didn't look nervous. She looked excited. Thank you for inviting us, said cheerfully. Wanted to bring snacks. I told him that was probably inappropriate for a formal meeting, but he insisted. We don't need snacks, Iris interrupted. We need answers. Why are humans so insane, suggested helpfully. I was going to say different, Iris said carefully. Sat down. That's actually an easy question. We're from Earth. We know that. No, I mean we're from Earth, like we evolved there. Do you know what Earth is classified as? A Class 12 said, the highest danger rating in our database. Right, pulled up a holographic display. Let me show you why that matters. Images of Earth appeared. Beautiful oceans, green forests, majestic mountains. It looks pleasant, admitted. Now let me add context, said. The display changed. Our atmosphere is 21% oxygen. Oxygen is one of the most corrosive substances in the universe. We breathe it. Our planet's gravity is about 1 Earth standard, which would crush most species here. Our weather includes lightning strikes that carry billions of volts. We have storms called hurricanes that can flatten entire cities. Our tectonic plates move, causing earthquakes. We have volcanoes that can block out the sun. The monarchs shifted uncomfortably. Our star is a G-type star that bombards us with radiation constantly. We consider this nice weather and go sunbathing in it. 70% of our planet is covered in water, which is necessary for our survival, but can also kill us if we stay in it too long. We can drown in the substance we need to live. This is horrifying, Iris whispered. I'm not done, continued, smiling. Our planet has predators at every level of the food chain, creatures that can kill us with poison, with claws, with teeth, with crushing force. We share our world with animals that could easily kill us. And you know what we did? What? All 5 monarchs asked together. We domesticated them. We took wolves, apex predators, and turned them into dogs. We keep them in our homes. Our children play with them. We bred them to be cute and friendly and loyal. We did this with multiple species, not because we had to, but because we wanted companions. Added, I have 3 dogs. Named them Killer, Destroyer, and Princess. Princess is the most dangerous. Your species befriended predators for fun? Asked. Yes, we also climb mountains that can kill us. We dive into oceans despite not being able to breathe water. We jump out of flying vehicles with only fabric to slow our fall. We call this recreation. Matriarch leaned forward. But why? Smile faded. Now she looked serious. Because we had to learn to survive. Earth didn't give us a choice. We evolved to chase prey until it died of exhaustion. We developed sweat glands to cool ourselves so we could run longer than anything else. We learned to throw projectiles with incredible accuracy. We created tools. We built societies. We did all of this while competing with creatures bigger, stronger, and more dangerous than us. So you survived through intelligence, Iris said. Not just intelligence, stubbornness, spite, refusal to quit stood up. Every human alive today is descended from ancestors who looked at an impossible situation and said, "Watch me." We come from a world that tried to kill us every single day, and we didn't just survive, we thrived. That explains your recklessness, said. It's not recklessness to us, interjected. It's pattern recognition. We see a problem and we see solutions. Just because something is dangerous doesn't mean it's impossible. The reactor that engineer fixed, continued, wasn't impossible to fix. It was just dangerous. Humans don't see a difference. Dangerous is just normal. The plague that doctor cured went on. She injected herself because waiting for traditional research would take too long. Time was the enemy, not the disease, so she eliminated time as a factor. Pilot flew into a dying star because the alternative was watching people die, said. Humans can't do that. We can't just watch when we think we can help. The monarchs looked at each other, spoke first. You don't have a survival instinct. We do, corrected. We just define survival differently. For most species, survival means avoiding danger. For humans, survival means overcoming danger. There's a huge difference. So when you say, "Hold my beer," said slowly, you're not being reckless, you're being human. Exactly, beamed. We're just doing what comes naturally. That's what terrifies us, Iris said quietly. Before anyone could respond, Doctor entered the room. The terraforming specialist looked excited. Sorry I'm late. I was reviewing some planetary surveys. We need to talk about He noticed the 5 monarchs. Am I interrupting? We were discussing Earth, said, and why humans are so dangerous. Oh, that's easy, said. We're not actually that dangerous. We're just very good at problem solving. You want to terraform 13 uninhabitable planets, said, including one that orbits a black hole. Well, yeah, they're just sitting there empty, seems wasteful, pulled up his own display. Look, this one has acid rain. We can neutralize that. This one is frozen solid. We can warm it up. This one is tidally locked. We can build habitats on the twilight zone. It's not that hard. Not that hard, Iris repeated. You want to modify entire planets and you think it's not that hard. Humans have been modifying Earth for 10,000 years, said. We changed rivers, moved mountains, built cities in deserts. Doing it in space is just a scaling issue. The monarchs looked exhausted. I have one more question, said. Do humans fear anything? And looked at each other, scratched his head. Sure, finally said, we fear things. Like what? Losing people we care about, failure, not being good enough, the usual things. But not death. Death is just a thing that happens, said. We don't like it, but we don't let it stop us from living, or from helping others live. So you run toward danger, said. We run toward problems, corrected. If the problem is dangerous, we take precautions, but we don't run away. We can't learn about something if we're running from it. The meeting lasted another 3 hours. By the end, the 5 monarchs understood humans better. They also feared humans more. They're going to change the galaxy, Iris said after the humans left. They already have, replied. The question is, can we change with them? Do we have a choice? Asked. No, said. They're here to stay. We either learn to live with them or we get left behind. That night the 5 monarchs issued a joint statement. It was simple. Humans are our allies. Learn from them. but never, ever accept a drink from them and listen when they say, "Hold my beer." That way lies madness. The statement was translated into every language in the galaxy. Most species read it as a warning. Humans read it as a challenge. Ambassador, reading the statement in his quarters, put his head in his hands. "We're never going to live this down, are we?" "Nope," said from across the room. She was modifying something that probably shouldn't be modified. But look on the bright side. What bright side? She held up a beer. At least they're finally starting to understand us. Looked at the beer, then at the device she was working on. "What are you building?" he asked carefully. "A better version of their quantum communicator. The current one has a 3-second delay. Mine will have no delay." "That's impossible." Grinned, "Hold my beer." The warning came without fanfare. Just a simple message that appeared on every screen in the galaxy simultaneously. "They are coming." Read the message 3 times before he understood. The void swarm. The nightmare from beyond reality. The force that had consumed 12 entire galaxies. They were here. The emergency council session was the largest in history. Every species sent representatives. The chamber was packed, and for the first time in 3,000 years, everyone was silent. "Our sensors detected them at the edge of the galaxy," Eth reported. His voice was steady, but his feathers were flat against his body, a sign of extreme fear. "They will reach inhabited systems in approximately 1 week. Based on all historical data, we cannot stop them." "What are they exactly?" Ambassador asked. "We don't know. They exist partially outside our dimension. They consume everything. Matter, energy, life. They adapt to every weapon we use against them. Every civilization that has fought them has been destroyed." "What's the extinction probability?" Commander asked. 96.7%, Eth answered. "Those are the best odds we've ever had against them. Usually it's 100%. The room absorbed this information. Several representatives started crying. Others began praying to their various gods. Elder Shim stood up slowly. He was the oldest human present, his hair completely white, his face lined with age. But his eyes were sharp. "I have a question," he said quietly. The room fell silent to hear him. "Have you tried fighting back?" "Of course," said, "every species fights, they all lose." "No, I mean really fighting. Not running, not defending, attacking with everything you have." "That would be suicide." "Maybe," Shim agreed. "But you'd go down fighting instead of running. There's dignity in that." "Dignity doesn't matter if you're dead," said. Shim smiled. "It matters to us." He walked to the center of the chamber. Every eye followed him. 2 years ago you met us and thought we were crazy. You thought we were dangerous. You thought we were reckless." He paused. "You were right about all of that." Some nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. "But here's what you didn't understand," Shim continued. "We're not brave because we don't feel fear. We're brave because we feel fear and do the impossible thing anyway. Every human in this room is afraid right now. I'm terrified, but fear doesn't get to make our decisions." He looked around the chamber. "You've spent 2 years watching us say, 'Hold my beer,' and do insane things. You've watched us fix impossible problems. You've seen us survive things that should have killed us. You know what the secret is." "What?" Matriarch asked. "We refuse to give up. That's it. That's the whole secret. We don't give up even when we should, even when it's logical to quit. We're too stubborn to die quietly." Captain stood up. "We have 1 week, let's use it." Engineer was already at a terminal. "I'll need access to your weapon systems, all of them." Doctor joined her. "And I'll need biological samples from the void swarm. If they're alive, they can die." Pilot grinned. "Someone's going to need to fly into that nightmare to collect samples. I volunteer." Sighed, "If you're going, you'll need a medic. I'm coming." Technician Bora cracked her knuckles. "If they exist partially in cyberspace, I can hack them." Liaison looked at the assembled aliens. So here's the question, are you with us? The chamber erupted, not in fear this time, in noise, argument, discussion. This is insane, someone shouted. It's suicide, another agreed. It's the only chance we have, a third voice countered. Elder Shim raised his hand, the room quieted. I'm not asking you to be brave, I'm not asking you to be heroes, I'm just asking you to try. Will you try? Silence. Then Eth stood up. The avian intelligence officer who had spent 2 years documenting human insanity looked at Shim. I have studied humans extensively. I have documented your species' complete disregard for self-preservation. I have written 17 reports explaining why you're all going to get yourselves killed. He paused, his wings spread wide. And I have never been more honored to stand beside anyone in my entire life. I'm with you. Stood next, the colonies will fight. Rose, the reptilian empire stands with humanity. One by one, every species stood. The crystalline collective, the shadow beings, the metal folk, all of them. This is still probably suicide, Matriarch said, but she was standing too. Shim smiled. It was a sad, proud smile, probably, but at least we'll go down swinging. He looked around at all the aliens who had spent 2 years confused by humans, frightened by humans, exasperated by humans, and now standing with humans. Then he did something that shocked everyone. Elder Shim, the wise scientist, the careful observer, reached into his bag and pulled out a beer. An actual beer he'd been saving for a special occasion. He said, "Hold my beer." The galaxy went to war. It wasn't a clean war. It wasn't organized. It was chaos. Captain led a fleet directly into the Void Swarm's portal. Half his ships didn't make it. The other half punched through and started shooting at everything. Engineer took every quantum reactor in the galaxy and overloaded them simultaneously. The energy release should have destroyed everything. Instead, it created a barrier that slowed the swarm down. I did the math, she said when someone asked if it was safe. It'll probably work. It worked. Doctor synthesized a bioweapon using her own DNA. Again, if it worked on the plague, it'll work on these things, she explained while injecting herself with void swarm material. It shouldn't have worked. It did. Pilot flew so deep into enemy territory that he disappeared off all sensors. If I don't make it back, he broadcast, tell my ship she was the best. He made it back with the samples they needed. Combat medics set up field hospitals in active combat zones. People are hurt, she said simply. I'm a medic. She saved thousands of lives while under constant fire. Commander broadcasted human war songs into the void. Heavy metal, battle hymns, songs about refusing to surrender. The swarm found it disturbing. Technician Bora hacked the swarm's hive mind using a computer virus she designed in 3 hours. It's just code, she said. Really weird code, but still code. Liaison negotiated with the swarm, actually negotiated. You consume everything, she told them. But what if we offer you something better? She offered them Earth's worst trade deal in history. Leave the galaxy alone, and humans would find them an empty universe to consume. The swarm accepted because they couldn't understand why anyone would make such a bad deal. It had to be a trap, but it wasn't. Security officer personally fought a void entity in hand-to-hand combat. No weapons, no armor, just spite and determination. He won because the entity didn't understand why anyone would try something so stupid. Doctor did something even crazier. He turned 3 dying stars into weapons. They were going to explode anyway, he explained. I just aimed them. But the moment that changed everything came from Ev. The avian officer stood on the bridge of his ship, surrounded by void swarm forces. His weapons were empty. His shields were down. He was about to die. He looked at his empty glass. The drink was gone, consumed hours ago during the battle. And then, for the first time in his life, Eth said the words, Hold my beer. There was no beer to hold, but there didn't need to be. It wasn't about the beer. It had never been about the beer. It was about refusing to surrender. It was about doing the impossible thing because it needed to be done. It was about being human, even if you weren't human. Eth flew his ship directly into the swarm's command nexus and detonated his reactor core. He took out 17 void ships with him. Across the galaxy, other species started saying it too. Hold my beer, a scientist shouted before launching herself into a reactor core. Hold my beer, a reptilian soldier yelled before charging an impossible position. Hold my beer, a crystalline being whispered before sacrificing her life to save a civilian transport. The phrase spread like fire. It wasn't about beer anymore. It was a battle cry, a promise, a declaration that fear didn't get to win. The battle lasted 3 days. When it ended, the void swarm was gone, pushed back through their portal, sealed away by a barrier made of quantum energy, human stubbornness, and the combined will of 47 species who had learned to say, "Hold my beer," and mean it. The casualties were terrible, 3 million dead, entire fleets destroyed, but the galaxy survived. In the aftermath, Ambassador stood in the ruined council chamber. It had been hit during the battle. Half the roof was gone. Stars shone through the hole. He still held Elder Shim's beer. The old man hadn't survived the battle. Neither had Eth. Neither had thousands of others. Opened the beer. It was flat, 2 years flat, but he drank it anyway. To everyone who said, "Hold my beer," he whispered, and to those who held the beer. The galaxy rebuilt, slowly, painfully, but they rebuilt together. A memorial was erected on every inhabited world. It showed a simple image, a human hand holding out a beer and an alien hand reaching to take it. The inscription read, "When the galaxy said it couldn't be done, humanity asked, 'But have you tried?' And then we tried together." The phrase, "Hold my beer," became official galactic code for refusing to surrender. It was taught in schools, spoken at ceremonies, used as a reminder that impossible didn't mean no, it meant not yet. 2 years later, technician Bora sat in a bar on Omega 7. The station had been completely rebuilt, better than before. Humans had helped design it, so now it had redundant safety systems and better snacks. A young alien approached her nervously. "Excuse me, are you Technician Bora, the human who hacked the void swarm?" "That's me," Bora said. "I just wanted to say, you taught my species something important. You taught us that we don't have to accept defeat." Bora smiled. "That's good, but you know what the most important thing we taught you is?" "What?" "It's okay to be afraid. Being brave doesn't mean not feeling fear. It means doing the right thing even when you're terrified." The young alien nodded slowly. "Thank you." As they left, Bora raised her drink. Around the bar, aliens raised theirs too. A tradition had formed. Every evening at sunset, everyone raised their drinks in memory. "To those who held the beer," Bora said. "And to those who said the words," the crowd responded. Somewhere in the galaxy, a new generation was growing up, a generation that had learned from humanity. They climbed dangerous mountains for fun. They fixed impossible problems. They ran toward danger instead of away from it. And whenever someone said something couldn't be done, they smiled and asked, "But have you tried?" The galaxy would never be the same, but that was okay. Change meant growth. Growth meant life. And life, the galaxy had learned, was worth fighting for. Even if it meant doing something crazy. Even if it meant saying 3 simple words and diving into the impossible. Especially then. Because sometimes, the best thing you can do is hand someone your beer, look at the impossible situation and say, "Watch this."